and then you have the right running on this multi-year platform of release the files. And it's only because of all of that we find out what was happening in the UK. I just wonder, like, how much of a tip of an iceberg is this? How many other governments was Epstein involved in as a conduit? How many other prime ministers and ministers were leaking him information? I mean, will we ever know?
As arrests, resignations, consequences related to the Epstein files spreads around the world, here at home, the fight to unearth the remaining Epstein files still being kept hidden continues.
Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter.
Of course, some of the key documents being withheld from the American public has to do with Trump. According to NPR, the FBI interviewed a Trump and Epstein accuser 4 times. This is according to the FBI serial report that was in the release of the last batch, the last 3 million documents that was released. Well, of the 15 documents listed in that log of the Maxwell discovery materials, only 7 are in the Epstein file. Those missing include notes that were related to those 3 of those interviews. And according to NPR, this was discovered by the independent journalist Roger Sullenberger. Now, of course, you have to ask the question, why we need even independent media to comb through this and put things together. Because the fact is that all of this information was with the Department of Justice, was with the FBI. They were forced to release this information because of a literal congressional law. And then not only do they not release it, as we see there, they specifically seem to be withholding documents related to FBI interviews. The FBI found witness credible enough to interview them and didn't disclose that interview. You would think if that interview was in any way going to exonerate Trump, that would have been part of the dump. And instead, it was withheld. And instead of having a Department of Justice and FBI who really cares about the victims, we are having to all independently put these files together in order to seek the truth. That is a failure of justice.
Yeah, Lena and Juan, definitely some confusion here since that woman who was accusing Trump of raping her when she was a child decided not to appear. Instead, her attorney came out and said that the woman was too afraid to speak. Now, this was a planned news conference, but it didn't happen. The woman had filed a lawsuit alleging Trump sexually assaulted her at several different parties in 1994 when she was only 13 years old. Attorney Lisa Bloom said the woman, who has gone by the pseudonym Jane Doe, had received numerous terrible threats and gave a short statement.
Jane Doe has received numerous threats today, as have all the Trump accusers that I have represented. She is living in fear. She has decided that she is too afraid to show her face. She's been here all day, ready to do it, but unfortunately, she's in terrible fear.
But Trump's attorneys have vigorously denied those allegations, and they're threatening legal action after the election. Juan and Lena?
It gets even worse. According to NPR's own deep dive into the Epstein files that was just released, there are more than 50 pages of FBI interviews that had to do with an interview with a female who has accused Trump of sexual abuse years ago when she was still a minor, a child. Well, NPR reviewed those serial numbers that came before and after the pages and the stamped documents of the Epstein file database. And what they discovered is that dozens of pages that the Justice Department cataloged, well, they didn't release those to the public. And of course, they had to do with Trump.
Well, I mean, we do know that there's at least prima facie evidence to show that he was deeply involved with Israel and Russia, these two countries.
And right now, everyone's questioning, was he an Israeli spy or a Russian spy or both?
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. No. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was involved with both.
Yes.
So they're not mutually exclusive, and they share tools of the trade. And having sort of giant honey traps is one of the tools of the trade. Having expertise in how you do offshore tax evasion, or worse, in the various Caribbean principalities. That's another skill, which of course Epstein had. The Panama Papers is a sort of financial equivalent of the Epstein files. That sort of gave you an MRI of that world. Epstein was at the center of all of this, which is how the elites operate. And the public knows this.
Yeah.
And they know
it's one thing to know it and one thing to see it.
To see it. And this sense that people have, this common sense that we have two-tier justice system. Well, what more do we need to see? Well, we need to see the other half. So we do need to see more. But it just corroborates, confirms everybody in their view about the whole thing's rigged.
We all wondered how Epstein got his money. Well, we got a glimmer more information because MeidasTouch sent emails to Epstein that gave Epstein sensitive government market information about the UK. The information he knew, evidently, because of his senior cabinet position having to do with markets and business. Well, in this latest dump of the 3 million files, it was discovered that he sent an email to Epstein in 2009, warning him of the fact that there may be a tax on bankers' bonuses and asking him to get maybe JP Morgan involved to change things. He also tipped Epstein off to the sale of possibly $20 billion of assets from the UK and gave him a heads up that the Prime Minister Brown was going to be resigning. I imagine if you are a market trader and you knew that kind of information, it was going to help. And perhaps Epstein even sold that information himself. I mean, all of this is being alleged by the UK government because they are arresting MeidasTouch, arresting him for misconduct in a public office, similar to the same arrest that former Prince Andrew was. Andrew, as we know, was in a trade envoy position and seemed to forward similar sensitive, confidential UK government information to Epstein. Now, interestingly, it was evidently MeidasTouch who suggested that Andrew get that role.
And there's a thought that so many, I mean, there's a former Prime Minister of Norway is under investigation and it's going all over the place. So I wonder what you think about, because I think even Prime Minister Starmer has said, if called by Congress, Andrew should testify on this other issue, not on the one that he's under investigation for right now.
Look, what I would say is there are 9 police forces investigating the former Prince Andrew right now. That is unheard of. It is unprecedented. And they're not all looking at misconduct in public office, i.e. the emails question. There are police forces in Essex, in Bedfordshire, looking into flight logs at Stansted, at Luton Airport, trying to see if there were questions of trafficking. There is
using those airports here to bring trafficked girls into the UK.
Exactly. So there are lots of forces examining lots of different things concurrently. And what I would say is, yes, I do think we are currently doing better in the UK. We are doing better at letting the course of justice run its path than the US. I mean, Norway is also doing that. Yep. France is also doing that. Europe, I think, is ahead on this. But I don't think that means it won't happen in America. Yeah. I mean, if now I was one of those men who was named in depositions by Virginia Giuffre. She named them all. She named 40 men who she said had trafficked or raped or abused her. I would not be sleeping very comfortably tonight.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.